Welcome to Trans Fabulous. My name is Sasha Sadek. My pronouns is she because I will never be her. I am the co-founder of Trans Sisters United. And before I start, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the clinician. I pay my respect to their elders past, present, and emerging, always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I also would like to extend my respect to our trans elders, past and present. Today, we have a very special guest. Dr. Danielle Stefanski is an infectious diseases and general physician and has been a doctor since 1999. In a varied career, Danielle has been a professional violinist and HIV clinician and policy advisor, a medical educator and antibiotic sommelier, and now she's a medical advisor in digital health. Danielle is also a trans woman who publicly announced her gender transition in April 2022. Always active in global health, Danielle worked for Thailand's biggest NGO in 2005. And from 2006 to 2009, she worked in Botswana for the University of Pennsylvania and the Director of Education of Outreach. While studying medicine in 1990s, she was a professional violinist in Europe and Australia and has performed with music icons including Yo-Yo Ma and Stevie Wonders. Now she advocates for employment and healthcare rights for trans people and other marginalized groups since 2023. Danielle has been a member of Australian Medical Association Equality, Inclusion and Diversity Committee. Welcome, Danielle.
Yes. Thank you so much.
So, Danielle, I met you at actually the protest that we had recently, and you're one of the speakers.
Yes.
And I didn't know who you were at that time, and when you speak, you inspired me. So this is the reason why I had to approach you and say, I need you to be on my show because I think you're trans fabulous.
Thank you.
The things that you have done for the community and the things that you have achieved in your life. And this is what Trans Fabulous Show is all about. It's about celebrating trans people and gender diverse, because I think a lot in the media, they like to focus on our traumas. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we have more than traumas. We celebrate our life and we live our life like everybody else. So, Danielle, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really grateful. And well, I'm glad that you enjoyed my 3-minute talk at the rally. I have to say, that's the first time I've done something like that.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
okay.
Really. That was my debut.
Wow. Okay. So
as a troublemaker.
That was needed because it's about medical, about the HRT with the younger generations.
Yeah.
And maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
Let's talk about
how
that,
did
sure.
they actually approach you?
I heard about the protests around the country that were happening on that day, and there were, I think, 20,000 people in 20 locations.
Yes.
Which is amazing. And
Melbourne was the biggest.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I really wanted to give that speech because I wanted to speak about medical care for trans people as a doctor, as a medical doctor. And it's not a very common voice. It's a rare voice. There's not that many of us who are doctors who are out and open and proud as trans people. And as I said at the beginning of the speech, I was speaking not as a provider of trans care, but as a recipient and a beneficiary of gender-affirming care.
Yeah.
And it's so important that that message is conveyed, that gender-affirming care is amazing, essential, life-saving. And as a doctor, as a scientist, it's really important that our voices of those of us who know about it intimately convey that. It's not just theoretical for us. We're living it.
Yeah, we're living it. 100%. When you speak, I was like, oh my God, this is very inspiring. And, you know, they just approached me a night before to speak because they didn't have trans women of color representation.
Right.
And I don't know what to talk about because, you know, I'm not a medical professional. The reason why I stand there without any script, because I thought I'm just going to speak from my personal experience, because I used to be that young trans person who are desperately looking for hormones. And my age wasn't legal at that time, so I went to black market. When you're young, you're desperate. You do anything, to have anything because people say hormones do wonders, right? And that was what you're being influenced.
And where was that?
That was in Singapore. So I was one of the fortunate one who actually got the real hormones. I do know a few of my transgender friends who had to go to the hospital because they had a reaction. It's probably not hormones, it was something else. So this is the reason why, HRT for the young people is very important, because that one young person could be me, looking for black market hormones in the back alley, and they don't know what they put in their body, and it's going to be dangerous for them. And
well, we want it to be safe.
Yeah.
We want it to be... we want everyone to have holistic care, and that's what gender-affirming care, at least in Australia at this time, that's what it is. It's really holistic. It looks at the whole person.
Yeah. By
the time trans people know that the medical track is right for them, we have often been through a lot.
Yeah.
And there's usually a lot of things going on at that time that we start medical treatment. And so to have proper wraparound care, looking at all the various things going on. Thinking back to my journey, there were many other things that were not hormones and that were not gender affirming care necessarily that had to be sorted out. Because by the time I was getting to that point, there were things in my life falling apart. And so, yes, I needed the holistic care, and I was very fortunate to have great doctors, my GP and my specialists. So I reckon I had a team of 4 people, and between them, we got through. And it's been such an important thing.
Oh, definitely.
I can't emphasize that enough. And I think we need, in media, we need our voices to be at the forefront. Once you've accepted yourself, in those first months and years, there's a lot of support that's needed. And when you get that support, then a very difficult, very rocky up and down journey can be made as good as possible.
Exactly.
And you mentioned that April 2022 was when I made my public announcement. So I'd already been on hormones for a year by then. And I was expecting that after announcing in my workplace at a hospital to thousands of people, after announcing that, I thought it would take me a few months to kind of settle into a rhythm. And what I was really amazed by was that it was within weeks. Within 2 or 3 weeks. And I thought, why is that? Like, it's not the hormones, because I've been on them for a year. It was just a public announcement. And what I realized was that until everybody knew, then I was still keeping a massive secret, and I was living a double life. Like, I was turning up to hospital wearing baggy scrubs as much as I could, always a mask, which was actually very helpful. My hair was growing longer, and so, a couple of surgeons said, "What are you doing with a man bun?" And I was like,
oh God.
And then after I came out, I could message and say, it wasn't a man bun. I hate man buns. It's just a bun. And now you know why I had a bun. And it was such a relief not to
hide anymore.
Live a double life. And be terrified of being outed at a timing that was not mine. What I realized is that process takes a lot of mental capacity.
Of course.
And as soon as the word was out,
then you feel free.
I got diffused. And all of that mental capacity was relieved. I mean, maybe it was 30% of my energy was taken up every day with trying not to get outed. And then, amazingly, I had 30% more energy after that. So it just disappeared. And that's such an important thing. And you never know what people are going through. And many, many people, you would have no idea, and yet they might be agonizing about a similar journey.
Sis, I can relate to this. I mean, like, as soon as I get to tell people I'm transgender, I mean, like that at the time we call ourselves transsexual. So we still use that word, you know. We need to, you know, we can't tell people how to want to identify themselves. So we still use the word transsexual. And as soon as you get to tell people you're transsexual, it feels like there's something left out from you, and you can just be yourself. You can just flourish. Living in Singapore, we have to suppress our gender. You have to be passable. You have to be all woman.
For the last easily 4 or 5 months working at the hospital.
Yeah.
Like I wore a sports bra that was quite compressive.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
To just try and hide back, you know. And it was not very nice.
Yeah,
like,
not very nice.
You know, I loved, after coming out, I loved being able to just sit and stand straight instead of like this. You know, trying to hide my chest. And so just very physical things, very obvious things, exactly like you're saying. And it was such a relief.
Can I ask, like, why you chose to do what you do, like in the medical?
In medicine?
Yeah, medicine.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can go right back.
Let's go right back.
So, I've been playing violin since I was 5. And when I was 8, I was really into it. And then when I was 8, I also watched this TV show that was called Your Life in Their Hands.
Okay.
And this was the first time that film cameras ever really went into an operating theatre. And they were, I think they were half an hour, maybe they were an hour, I can't remember. And it was early 80s. And there was one very charismatic doctor who presented, and it was following a patient, and they had something that was troubling them. I remember one was this guy was just dizzy all the time.
Yeah.
And so they did the tests and they diagnosed what was going on, and he needed an operation of his inner ear to fix this dizziness, this vertigo. And so that was the setup for half the program. And then the other half of the program was the actual surgery, showing it in graphic detail.
Right.
And I was 8 and I loved this. I watched every episode. The gorier, the better.
Yeah.
And by the end of this series, I thought, I want to be a doctor.
Right.
But I also wanted to be a violinist.
Okay.
And I couldn't choose.
You can't choose.
No, I couldn't choose. And so all the way through high school and even university, I still wanted to do both.
Yeah. Yes.
So anyway, I got into medical school and I was playing professionally as well. And then I took a couple of years off and did just music in Europe. But I decided in the end I was going to finish medicine because there was a lot I wanted to do in medicine.
Yeah.
And what I really wanted to do in medicine was I wanted to provide services to people and communities in places where those medical services were either not available or restricted.
Yeah.
So in short supply. So I went on a medical elective in my final year to Zimbabwe. And that blew my mind.
Okay.
Yeah. 2.5 months in Zimbabwe at the end of the 90s. I followed an amazing nurse around doing community work with family planning. And then I was in a rural mission hospital for over a month, seeing everything.
Yeah.
Malaria, HIV, tuberculosis, childbirth, like you name it. And I thought, that's what I want to do. I'm coming back. Infectious diseases is a pretty good one to do that kind of work, like development work, community development. I I was fascinated by infectious diseases. HIV was massive problem, and I got super interested in HIV prevention. And I wanted to do HIV prevention in Africa specifically. And so by about 2006, that's what I ended up doing. And so I lived in Botswana for 3 years, and I did HIV treatment, prevention, broader general medicine, a lot of teaching. And I thought I made the right choice. I chose the right career, and I loved it. It was the best job I've ever had still. Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, like, I'm so glad that I have you here and to talk about it. I mean, like, I don't think I ever met someone who actually, in fact, with a transgender woman who works there. I know a couple of women who actually did the same work as you, but not as a doctor, as an advocate there for HIV, but you're amazing.
Well, I have some skills, I have some experience, and one day, who knows, I may get back into it. Like, I've been back in Australia since 2010. I've got a young family. Well, they're teenagers now. But at that time, for various reasons, we decided to stay here. But I would love to explore what I can do still in the world of global health. And recently have been doing some panels and discussions with the Australian Global Health Alliance, which is very involved with medicine and health in Asia and the Pacific. And I'm excited about getting back into that world. I've thought they're my people.
It's also rewarding, isn't it? Like,
so rewarding.
It's so rewarding.
Incredible.
Sure. You're also very well traveled, as I just learned from our conversation yesterday. Have you lived in other countries as well, or you just travel around?
So, I like to stay in a place and get to know it. So I lived in Botswana for 3 years, Thailand for about a year, and I lived in Finland for 6 months, Poland for a year, Germany for 4 months. Travel was part of my identity. But I haven't traveled since, I haven't been out of Australia since 2016.
I mean,
and so I'm looking to see where am I going to go? What can I do? Even just for a holiday. Like, I'm dying to go somewhere. And I've not been overseas since transitioning. So
Wow.
Traveling as trans is going to be super special.
Definitely. I mean, I'm well traveled as well, and I've lived a few countries before, and then end up I think 2009, I feel like, I think Melbourne is definitely home. I feel I can be myself here, and I think I chose the right city here.
That's great.
And traveling is a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. I hate packing and unpacking, but I feel you. I mean, traveling is good for the soul. I did that when I was a lot younger, so I'm a lot older now. So I don't have that much energy anymore. So
same.
And I think traveling for me is about just chill by the beach, somewhere tropical, and like Bali. So that would be my go-to.
Well, I love getting to know a place. And I love just not having too much of a plan and exploring and finding things and trying to get to know people in the local place.
That's the best, isn't it?
Doing it as trans is going to be interesting. So like, I'm excited.
We are quite privileged because we are passable. And
oh, well, thank you for saying that. Well, my daughter said to me, well, no one will know. You don't have to tell anyone. And I was like, but I still think I have a neon sign on my forehead saying
I know what you
mean.
It's just our paranoia.
Especially when I speak.
No, it's not. I mean, like, I promise you, you are very passable. Do you enjoy Thailand at all?
Okay, I've got mixed feelings about living in Thailand.
Where
it's
in
one thing
Thailand?
to visit. I was living in Bangkok. So I was super busy. It's one thing to live there, it's another thing to visit. And I think for me, it would have been more fun to visit. Living there was tough. Like, it's a grind, it's a hustle. And having grown up here, the one thing that I really noticed was the lack of green. I think it's one of the worst cities in the world for having parkland or trees.
And pollution.
Pollution, I could kind of deal with.
Okay. And traffic.
Every month, I felt like this urge
Yeah.
to have some nature
Yeah.
and to like have trees and some green and some forest. And so I'd generally go somewhere to the beach or go for a long weekend to Cambodia or something like that, and then come back. I found that very, very difficult in Bangkok.
Yeah.
Like I've not lived in such a concrete jungle for an extended period.
Yeah.
But it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was super fun and it was amazing. And while I was there, undercover, like in my closeted self, I met a couple of trans sisters and went out with them for the night. And I have to say that was really amazing. And one in particular was the first person ever to say, Danielle, sis.
Yeah.
As sister. And
it's nice, like a validation,
that
isn't
meant
it?
so much to me. And so I've got a really massive soft spot for Bangkok, from that sense as well.
Yeah.
And I was working with incredible people.
I mean, with the Southeast Asian community, especially with the transgender woman community, when we see someone who is feminine, we straight away call them sis, and if it's an elder, it's either they possible or not, we still call them mama. That means it's our trans elder. Yeah.
That's so lovely.
So I think sometimes I call the Australian trans woman elder here mama, and then it was like, don't call me mama. I was like,
oh no, bring it on.
I was like, oh no, it's just a respect for our trans elders. I said, oh, please explain. So I had to explain to them.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's a culture thing anyway. So
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. So if you see people calling mama, that means it's not being disrespectful. It's just being respectful of we know that they have gone through a lot and have paved their way for us to live a better future today. So
yeah, absolutely.
And Danielle, let's go to the fun part.
Okay.
You're a violinist.
Yeah.
And you do orchestra.
Well, right now I play with an orchestra that's semi-professional, and typically I do that 3 or 4 times a year, but I haven't played with them for 3 years. And so just this weekend I'm back and playing again with them, which is wonderful. Yeah. Seeing lots of old friends, and it feeds my soul, honestly. And the rest of the time, really chamber music, small groups, quartets, trios, sometimes quintets. Very often we just have an evening, have some dinner, play through some music. It's gorgeous. Yeah. In my past life, even recently, I recently did a soundtrack for a film. Yeah. With a very old friend of mine, a wonderful violinist. And as you mentioned, I've played professionally. I was in the Finnish National Opera Orchestra in 1995, and I was in an orchestra in Germany in 1995 as well. Played a lot of chamber music and string quartets in Europe, and then through the late 90s here as well. Some musicals, Orchestra Victoria, or as it was known then, State Orchestra of Victoria. So operas and ballets with the Australian Opera and Australian Ballet. Yeah. And look, that never leaves me. Music is my life. It's a shame that life can get really difficult for us. Yeah, especially in the first couple of years after coming out. And I haven't played as much as I wanted to. I'm back on the horse now. I've got to tell you a story, just about the orchestra thing. Yeah. This orchestra, there's a lot of professionals in it, mostly doctors, actually. Wow. There's a real connection between being a doctor and playing music. I think there's a number of reasons. I think there's something very mathematical about music. Yeah. And kind of logical as well. And that also suits a brain for medicine. Yeah. There's also a bit of a personality trait that both require a lot of focus and attention to detail for long periods of time
Yeah.
where you're not very good
Yeah.
and you have to put the hours in and really, really work hard for it. And so there's a bit of a type A personality that suits both of them very well. So you find a lot of very accomplished doctors who are very, very good musicians. And this is a great orchestra.
Yeah.
Like I'm a pretty harsh critic, but
Yeah.
this orchestra is very good. It's very high standard. And I would say at the depth of my distress about gender, I really fell in a hole around 2017.
Okay.
And that was the first time I really got depressed. And I signed up to see a gender counsellor. And I said to my family, I need to face this. My wife kind of knew about it before.
Okay.
Not kind of, she knew about it before.
Yeah.
But I said, no, now it's really bad, and I need to talk to someone professionally. And I had some time off work, and there was a concert coming up for that orchestra, and it was Prokofiev, Romeo and Juliet, which is incredibly heartbreakingly beautiful ballet music. And last minute, I wrote to the guy who organises the orchestra, and I signed up, and I said, can I please play in this orchestra, like in this concert? I know it's this week, but I really need it for my mental health. And in every rehearsal, I was just really thinking about me and about my gender and what am I going to do? And as we were rehearsing and playing this exquisite music, I was visualizing, what if I could transition? What if I could actually do this?
Wow.
And then what if I could enjoy playing this music with my friends who, some people in that orchestra I've known for 30 years. And we've been playing music together for 30 years, since I was like 18. And it just turned into a bit of a dream, a vision of what an amazing future could look like. And we chatted about this on the phone just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
There's nothing quite like being a trans person who gets to do the things they love to do after being open about your gender.
100%.
Whether it's transition or not transition, but just being open about it if you're non-binary or just being
comfortable for
100% yourself.
Yes.
Like, this is 100% me.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to do this thing I love. It might be sports.
Yeah, I know. Own it.
It might be music.
You know.
And for me, that's been a dream.
Yeah.
And I've made it come true, thank God.
I'm so glad. And I'm so glad I met you as well. So I'm so glad that our viewers here get to hear your story, because I just find you fabulous. And thank you for being trans fabulous.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here. So yeah, thank you, Danielle. And I'll see you soon.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'll see you to the next episode. This is Trans Fabulous.